Ẹ káàbọ̀.
Ẹ káàbọ̀.
Ẹ láfíà ni o.
Ẹ láfíà ní gbogbo láyé ẹ̀mọ olúwàbí ẹ̀mọ Odùduwà.
We welcome you to the greatest
Podcast
on the planet.
on the planet.
I am Awo Ifajimini-Re,
I am Awo Ifatebunṣe.
and this is Let's Talk Ifa.
Àṣẹwà.
Láfíà, everybody. We're glad to be here today. We pray that you are well, you and your families,
Àṣẹ.
your children, all your loved ones.
Àṣẹ.
You know, it's a lot going on out here. So first and foremost, we just pray for everybody that's tuning in. And we thank everybody that's tuning in as well.
Yes, indeed. So
Shay.
what we have on the topic for today?
Today, we will be discussing practical solutions to the most common spiritual challenges. So we hope that you enjoy the show today. I know this is a topic that, you know, a lot of people are interested in, and that affects a lot of people. And I think this is a topic that'll hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it'll answer a lot of questions, help people to understand more about their problems and trying to solve their solutions.
I say.
So, yeah, that's a perfect topic. For this podcast.
Yeah.
So I know, just like myself, you get a lot of calls from people, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate on their spiritual journey. A lot of people come in. They do a lot of research online because there's a lot of information online.
Yeah, it's almost too much.
Yeah, it's almost too much, and some of the information, I'm not going to say is wrong, but it may not be for them.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
And some might just be wrong.
And some might just be plain out wrong. Right? So what is the solution for solving these types of issues where people are trying to figure out what path do I follow? How do I get a reading? I get a lot of people personally, they'll call and they have nothing, no resources. They don't even know about paying a priest to get a divination.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about Edbal. They don't know how to appease their ancestors or venerate their ancestors.
Yeah.
They don't know how to venerate their Ori, you know, and they're searching. And so a lot of times, I get a lot of young people sometimes that, you know, their parents is in the church, but some of these young people, they're in the church with their parents, but they have something that's calling them.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's their ancestors or it's their Ori telling them you need to seek a deeper understanding of spirituality.
I say.
Right? And so some of these young youth, some of them are elders too, not just the youth, but you have elders too. Sometimes they come with nothing. They have no type of resources that's financially, or no type of guide to help them, you know, a basic platform, a script to follow. Yeah. So, you know, I have a lot of those, and sometimes, you know, these people, they don't have, they lack the understanding of how do I start.
Yeah. They just know that what they're doing is not really cutting it. And like you said, they can't really put their finger on it, but they know there's something more. There's something deeper. There's something that they're being called to. And eventually they end up at our doorstep. You know, want to add to with as far as Ifa, you know, Orisha, a priest or a priestess, or you know, they come through various means and ways. I mean, I've even had older women, you know, older black women in their 50s and 60s that are just starting this journey, that are coming because they feel like, you know, the church isn't really doing it for them anymore. Whatever their story is, here they are, right? So we figured it would be beneficial to do this podcast and dedicate this to practical solutions to the most common spiritual challenges. And the first challenge that we're going to discuss today is resources. You know, it could be a new person, or it might be somebody that knows a little something, that's been studying, they may have been around and have been exposed to some things, but they just might be in a place in their life where they're having a hard time, and resources are a challenge to them trying to figure out their spiritual path and trying to, you know, become the best version of themselves, right? So when we talk about resources, I guess the first one we could talk about is money. Let's get to the money.
Yeah, the Owo is a very important tool, because the Owo, the money, is part of the sacrifice. Even when you're putting your money down for divination, you're making a sacrifice, because the money is something that you worked hard for. And so you're giving that as an offering or a sacrifice for a spiritual service to get a better understanding of who you are, to give a deeper understanding of who you are. So, Owo, money, is part of the sacrifice, right? Now, sometimes people don't have money.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you do when you have no money in hand?
Well, one of the things I tell people is you don't have to pay to appease your Ori.
I say.
You don't have to pay to venerate your ancestors. So there's information out there that you can get from your Ifa priest or your Olorisha priest on basically if you don't have no Owo, you can do something basic like wake up in the morning before you talk to anybody in your household.
There we go. Let's get to it.
You put your hands on your Ori and you pray to your inner self. Right? Ancestors. You are your ancestors. Your ancestors are you.
I say.
So you can set up a basic shrine. And your priest should be able to help guide you through that. Some priests may charge. Me personally, I don't charge for giving information on venerating your ancestors.
Yeah, it's enough information out there.
Yeah, it's enough.
Figure out how to,
right.
There's even a documentary
exactly
that the sister did. I cannot think of her name, but big up to her. I think she's in a Lukumi tradition, but she did a wonderful job with her documentary in My Mother's Garden.
All right.
So there's information out there on how to, you know, it doesn't really cost any money. All you need is try to find some pictures of your ancestors. If you don't have the pictures, you can put the names up there. You know, you can get a white cloth. You can go to the dollar store and get a candle. You know, you can get
some glass.
Some
wood vessels where you can put water in it.
Some water.
A calabash or something, put water in.
Try to get a plant or some flowers. You can go, if you don't have money to buy it, just go outside and get one.
Yeah.
You just need to represent that element of earth, or you can even just have a bowl of dirt on there. It doesn't have to be a flower. We just need the element of the earth, right? So that's practically free. When you don't have money, you know, your Ori and your ancestors, and you want to do this every morning. Like the Bible said, you want to hold your Ori in the morning you can say Ibashi Ori, Ibashi Ori, Ibashi Ori, Ori guide me, Ori bless me, Ori protect me. You say that 3 times. And then after that, you just hold your head and you pray for what it is that you need versus, what you want. You want to pray for what you need. You want to pray for progress. You want to pray for, protection, guidance, blessings. You want to pray for your Ori and your Ori Inu to your inner self and your outer self to be in alignment with each other so that you can have money, so that you're not in poverty, so that you can have a house, so that you can get out of jail. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can get a car, so that you can do whatever it is that, whatever lack of resources that you have, you pray to your Ori and, to be able to enable yourself to get you to a better place where you can get the money. And then when you do get the money, you promise to thank the energies. You promise to come back and thank them out of gratitude. So that's one thing you can do with your Ori and with your ancestors. If you don't have any money, like I said, it doesn't cost anything to set up an ancestor shrine or an altar. It won't be consecrated or anything, but because I've done this before, and I've been in this situation where it was a little rough for me, and I didn't have what I needed.
Right.
But if you go to your ancestors every morning, and you say your
provide.
prayers, and you pour a libation, you invoke them, and then you say your prayer, you give thanks, and then you say your prayer. So this is the order. You salute the ground, you pay homage to the ancestors. Dobale, Kunle, whatever. You pour a libation, you invoke the ancestors, you give thanks, and then you say your prayers and give them your petitions. If you do that religiously, if you do that consistently every morning, they will help get you to a better space where now you can get money to do divination, to do sacrifice, to receive Orisha, to become initiated, to do whatever it is that you need to do.
And it works.
It works.
It works.
I've done it. I've been there.
Those are when you appease your Ori and you appease your ancestors. Those are the foundation of beginning this journey. You want to align your Ori. If your Ori is not in alignment, there's no way you can make a connection with your ancestors.
Everything else is off.
Everything is you cut off. So it always starts with the Ori first.
Foundation.
Then you go to the ancestors. You want to prepare your Ori and make sure that your mind is clear so that when you go to your ancestors, you can feel them when you pray. You can get like they said, you may get goosebumps, so you want to clear your mind by appeasing your Ori. That's why they say, hold your head with both hands and pray to your inner self. Before you talk to anybody in your household, talk to your inner self first. That's the Ori prayer is for elevation. Right? Then you go to your ancestors. Like the Baba said, you salute, greet them, and then you begin your prayers. And you always pray to your ancestors for stability, because that's what they represent, a stable foundation. You pray to them for the basic necessities, food, clothing, shelter. In this modern time that we live in, you need a vehicle. So if you don't have a vehicle, you're having trouble with a vehicle, ask your ancestors to open up the way so that you can have a vehicle so that you're able to travel, and get the things that you need. These are the things that you go to your ancestors for. And again, as we said, you don't need any money for these things.
And it works, and it's powerful.
It works. It works. And then as you go, when you start acquiring the that you need, then you can go get a divination and start doing more, adding more. You know, that's when the bars, the aladi moves, and all of those things start to come into play. But start small. This is a tradition in which you have to have patience. So you have to crawl before you walk.
Benny.
You know, if you have nothing, you have your Ori and you have your ancestors.
And when you go to your ancestors, when you're making your prayers and your petition, you want to keep it general.
Yes.
Try not to be too specific, because a lot of times we don't even really know what's best for us. So when you say specific things, you can kind of mess the flow of the energy up. So just pray for general. Instead of saying, you know, I want a house, help me get a house in Charlotte, just say, help me to get a house where it's best for me. Wherever that is, you know, just say, help me to get a house. Because it may not be where you are or whatever. You don't know what, you know, where the blessing lies. So just keep your prayers general with the ancestors, you know, because sometimes we think we want something and it's not. It gets blocked for our own good.
I remember I had this is probably like 10 years ago, I had a client, and she kind of the same process, she didn't have anything. So I said, you know, start off with praying to your Ori and then pray to your ancestors. Pray to your ancestors. She had nowhere to live. I said, well, pray to your ancestors to get a house. You know, first get some work, a job or something, and then you start, you know, things will start opening up for a house. Well, she did that, and job came, and then the house didn't come, but she had an opening for a apartment. So she called me and complained. I didn't ask for the ancestors for an apartment. I asked the ancestors for a house. I said, well, you got a roof over your head.
Maybe you can't handle a house right now. Maybe they're giving you what you need, not what you want. Right.
But you have a roof over your head.
You got a roof. You better.
Right. They gave you. They opened up the door for you to get something.
Say thank you. They testing your gratitude right now.
Thank you.
You
exactly.
But
so I said, wow. I said, well, you need to be thankful that they provided a way for you to get
a roof over your head. Right.
Go to them and tell them thank you.
I say.
And then once you humble yourself,
you gotta be humble.
Then the house will come.
You can't be like, well, I'm mad at y'all because I asked for a house. Well, you was homeless.
Exactly. That's why I said you didn't have anything.
They're giving you what you needed, not what you wanted.
So when those types of things happen, don't go and complain to your ancestors, because they can snatch it and block that opportunity.
They'll be like, oh, okay.
You show gratitude.
You want to complain that we didn't give you a house? All right, well, let me
block that.
And snatch it right away from you.
Humility is important.
You gotta have humility.
You know.
Yeah.
Integrity is another thing. Integrity has to deal with, you know, you being honest. When you go before, when you speak into your Ori or your ancestors, be honest. You know, put your heart into it. Put your mind and your heart into it. It's important because you want the ancestors to feel what you're saying. You know, it's okay to speak with authority sometimes. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that gives the energy to your prayers.
Yep.
You know that's important. So I think the next thing we want to go into is like time.
Yeah. Now, real quick before we do that, like the Bible was saying, you get out of it what you put into it. If you go to your ancestors, and another thing, we praying through them. We don't really pray to them. We're praying through them because they are going to go and petition on our behalf and to deliver our prayers to the Orisha, to Olodumare. So ultimately, whenever we pray, we're praying to Olodumare through the ancestors, through our Ori, through the Orisha, right? But like Baba was saying, you get out of it what you put into it. Like if you go in there just dragging and like you gotta speak like you want it. Like, you know, you gotta believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to put some passion and some energy behind your prayers. Or if you just go in there like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, they're gonna say, oh, you really don't want it.
That's not gonna
We're
work.
dragging.
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta, that's, again, this is why we appease Ori first,
That's
to wake
it.
us up.
To get your mind right, so that you can go and proceed. Now your foundation has been laid properly, so now whatever you do after that will be okay. But if the mind, your Ori can block any blessing or any connection, even with your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. The other resource, time.
Time. Wow. Time.
Some people don't have time to do, come to the shrine every morning and do O'Shea, or maybe you might be working 2 jobs, or you might be working a job and in school and got kids and you gotta cook. You could be a single mother or a single father or whatever. You may not have that kind of time, to devote. So there are things that you can do to work around that. You can just go in the morning and salute, say a quick 2-minute, 1 minute, 2-minute prayer, and be out. If you don't have
time. Before we buy that, you'll go, at least go and seize it.
Go check in.
Check in. Even if you gotta bow your head down and say a little something, give at least a minute or 5 minutes before you leave the house.
Then you can pray on the way. You can, after you salute the shrine, if you in the car going
you
to
can
work,
pray to your Ori.
You could pray in the car or at your lunch break or your break or when you get a break in class or whatever. Yeah. You stay in prayer and meditation throughout the day. But check in with the shrine in the morning. And then, if you don't have time, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah, the shrine is like a vocal point.
Yeah.
That's important. But a lot of times, people, I get a lot of people sometimes, they stay with their parents and they can't set up any type of shrine.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's that's down a little further.
That's down a little further.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now we talking about
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think with the time is like, give some type of time. If you rushing out the door and you run past your shrine, if you can't say anything, put your head to the floor in front of your shrine, say a little something, and then go, because what you're doing is you're preparing your Ori to meet the world for that day.
That's it.
Because the Yorubas, they see as they say, I think we said this in one of the podcasts, that, their home is, and their compound is like their world. So before they step outside their world into this larger world, you want to prepare your Ori, because there's a lot going on out there.
Yeah.
Fast traffic, people moving fast. You can get into an accident the way people drive.
Yeah.
But if your Ori is not on point, you can also cause an accident, or run into some type of trouble at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, you might be in the wrong, and you know what I'm saying? At the wrong time, you might, because you didn't prepare your mind.
You didn't, yeah. That's why it's best to say your prayers early in the morning before you go, because you don't know what that prayer might avert, some type of negativity that you were going to face that day. So it's always, and if you can't do it, just do it at night before you go to sleep. They understand. But space is the next one that you were kind of alluding to. Sometimes we talk to people who, like the Bible said, might be living in their parents' house or with somebody that doesn't understand or condone the tradition, and they don't, or they might just be living in a 1 bedroom, something, which there's enough space there, but you may not be able to set up an altar or a shrine for whatever reason, right? We get people that call us that are homeless, might be living in their car, whatever. So you may not have space to have, quote unquote, set up an altar or have a shrine.
So one of the things I always tell people in that position, and I've had people in those positions, where they was living in their car,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't know what to do to appease their ancestors. So
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, you got the earth.
Got the herb.
Pour libation of
Got
the
your
earth.
ori.
You got
Pour
your
libation.
ori.
You can go to
Yeah.
a park
Yeah,
somewhere.
you got your right toe and your left toe. Those
Shit.
are ways of appeasing your ancestors
Shit.
as well. So the earth, you got trees. You can go before a tree and appease your ancestors, appease your egg bay. So there's things in nature that you can go to appease your ancestors, and whatever other deity or force of nature that you need to appease is right there in nature, because the power of this now is in nature. We talk about Oshun. Some people say, I don't have the Oshun pot. You can go to the river.
To the river.
That's the source of what's in that vessel of Oshun. So nature is where the ancestors and Orishas dwell as well. So you can use nature. You can use a staff to appease your ancestors, or even yami. You can use things in nature. So there's no excuse really.
Yeah.
For people that say, well, I don't have the space, I can't set up a shrine.
At the time.
I have the time.
Space.
I live with my parents and they don't believe in this, and so I can't set up a shrine. Well, I tell them, go to the park.
Go to the natural shrine.
Go to the earth itself. You can
Go
put
to the
food,
river, go to the beach, go to
everything.
the woods, and
Yeah.
connect, and just pour libation.
A lot of times you get a lot of brothers incarcerated that say, well, they don't have the space.
Yeah, we can include that in this. Yeah.
And it's like you have a cell, right? You don't need much because you have yourself for one.
Yeah. Got your ori.
You got your ori.
You can get a hold of a little water.
If you can get some water, you can set something up, right? Set something up. You can put fruit right there, and then you can eat the fruit to appease your ancestors too. Because some people say, well, you can't eat with the dead, but you can, because again, you are your ancestors and your ancestors are you. So you can pray over that fruit to your ancestors and set it somewhere by your ori where you sleep. Next day, you can eat that fruit. You didn't pray to your ancestors on it. Remember that you yourself is like a shrine, right? So they are in you.
That's it.
Your ancestors, again, you are your ancestors are you. So again, there's no excuse for doing what you need to do to make those appeasements.
Another way to venerate your ancestors with no money, no time, no space, you can, if you have memories of them, you can think about things that they may have said to you, or maybe what they would say to you right now in this situation, or what would they do, or what advice would they give you, and you can go over that in your mind, and you can, walk
memories
in that, and just have that good character and that they will carry you through and help you get out of the situation that you're in. Because sometimes that's all you got. That's all you got is your ori and your ancestors. When you may not have anything, you might be incarcerated, like we're saying.
Yeah.
You can't really set up an altar in there, or so you can, maybe one day, like the Muslims, they have space, I believe, in there to do what they need to do. So, maybe we need to petition to have a space for, traditional, African traditional spiritual practice to be able to go in and have their own space where they can pour libation and be amongst,
And those things are being worked on. Those things are definitely, because I used to go into, when I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, I went to a few of the prisons and did classes on these types of things inside the prison. So
Practical stuff that they can
practical
do.
stuff that they can do.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need no beads or anything.
Yeah.
You know, they have themselves.
Right.
You know, and whatever resources they have in the prison, like the food, fruit, you know, whatever they eat. You can leave something on when you eat, you can leave some food on the side for your ancestors.
Before you eat, you just set some off to the side for your ancestors and their shoot. That's a way to pay homage to them and connect with them, because you're showing that spirit of gratitude and you're paying homage to them. So before you eat, that's what we do out here. We might take a small piece, put it off to the side, or throw it outside, or throw it in the garbage can. So you could do that in jail or in prison, you know.
You can even put you can put a little food on your forehead that you're eating, you know, on your navel for your Ori Nu. You know, you can those little, I'm not talking about a chunk or anything, but just a little something of what you're eating and mark your forehead and your navel. Those are simple things that you can do that's very effective.
I see. So that was number one was resources. So we basically got 5 things that we're gonna cover. 5 common spiritual challenges, right? Number 2, the need for spiritual guidance. We've noticed that a lot of people don't have a spiritual teacher or a guide. They might have been initiated, let's say for instance in Nigeria, but they don't have a teacher here or a guide. It's one thing to have an Oluo and be initiated. It's a whole nother thing to have a teacher and somebody that can teach you and guide you, that can continue to nurture you, because if you're new or you may be young in the tradition or whatever, like you need that continued coaching, you need that guidance, you need that teaching.
Right.
And a lot of people, even people that have been initiated here, it's not just going to Nigeria, it's just people in general.
Yeah.
We see that as a common theme where people don't have spiritual teachers.
Well, one thing is everybody can't be a teacher.
Everybody's not a teacher.
Everybody's not a teacher. But there are a few that are teachers. And if your Ori happens to lock into one that is a good teacher,
right?
Please, my people, embrace that.
That's it.
Because you have a lot of people who pretend to be teachers. You have a lot of people that think they are teachers. And that may not be their path to teach. They may know a lot.
Right.
But they may not be just that person to teach you.
Teacher, yeah.
So, again, you know, this is why we say, you know, continue to empower your Ori so that you can lock in your journey, trying to figure out your destiny. In this, you need a teacher.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's going to guide you. And so those basic things that we talked to previously is clearing your mind so that you can lock in to a teacher. Everybody that gets initiated doesn't have to be a teacher.
So everybody.
Sometimes they have to just deal. Right. Them being initiated is to deal with their own personal challenges.
Yeah.
But see, we live in a time where everybody want to be a spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
A spiritual leader, but there's many. There's, you know, Orumila chooses his teachers.
That's it.
You know, and so it's a thing where on this journey, some of it is you finding your way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may not be able to find a teacher. You may have the initiation and the mind to properly guide yourself through this, you know, by going to festivals and listening to the wisdom, by going to classes and listening to the wisdom. You know, some people, you know, they walk the path to initiation. Sometimes it's a lonely journey. When you get there and you become initiated, learning to be a priest, some people it's a lonely journey, and they may just have to learn in that way. But there are many who need a spiritual guide,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, and that comes with discipline, integrity, humility, and if you lack those things, you know,
yeah.
you got to work on, you know, building character.
You know, and you might keep running into those people that are not the best
Teachers.
teachers.
Mhm.
You know, it's a lot of messy situations out here. We get calls all the time. But a practical way, a solution to that, like the Bible said, is making sure your ori is clear, so that you can be guided to a good teacher. Enisuru babayiwa, you know.
Sure.
Having patience is the father of character. So
Beyond
you can't be in a rush. Yeah, that's the other downfall a lot of people have is they're rushing, and they they go to the first person. That's like everything that glitters not gold.
Sure.
And they go through this person and that person and this person and that person, and it's like just slow down for a minute and take your time. Because what they say, what's the saying? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
The teacher will appear.
So, like the Bible says, sometimes you might go for a year, so a certain period of time where you don't have a teacher or a guide. So, in that time, use that time to read, to study, to visit places, go to festivals, go to bembe's, and through that, eventually you will find the teacher that's right for you, but don't rush it,
And then, if you can't find a teacher, as you said, and you're going on this journey and you're not locking into the teacher, work on your character. Work on humility, work on your discipline. And when you work on those things, trust me, those who are looking for a teacher, you're going to find a teacher.
Yeah.
And so, work on, you have the tools, and I'm talking about initiates now. You have the tools, you have the basic tools, so just use those basic tools and it's going to lead you to someone who's going to take you a little further. But patience is the key.
Patience, and even for the non-initiates, just look at the neophyte, somebody that's new, that's just coming into this, that's looking for anybody that's in your inbox. Don't do it. 99% of the time, that's not what you want to do. Stop jumping at every person that contact you or whatever on social media and get in your inbox saying this and that and the third or whatever. Don't stop it. Just stop it. It's not. There's no rush. There's you 9 times out of 10 you're not gonna find a happy ending when you go that route. This is for the newer people, and the people, everybody, the new ones, the in between.
You have some that have been in this for 12 years and they initiated and everything. They still going for the okie doke on social media.
Yeah.
So it's you have to step back, and I always say, this is for initiates. Once you get initiated, spend time studying yourself. Whether you're an Olorisha priest or a priestess, study yourself. Study your Odu before you just start jumping out there trying to do readings and do that ball for people, because you're not spending at least 3 to 5 years understanding your journey. You just jumping right in and saying, okay, I'm a priest. You're not a priest, you're an initiate.
Right.
It's a difference.
Right.
It's a difference. You're an initiate. You're not a priest yet. You're an initiate. So you're a baby and you're learning how to crawl. You gotta crawl before you
You
walk.
gotta take your time. You know, you gotta be doing this for the right reasons, like we say, good character, you know, patience. You have to be genuine. If you're in this just to try to hurry up and do some stuff so you can make some money and get a bunch of people in your elay and do a bunch of stuff you really haven't been trained to do, you know, so all these are impediments to finding a good guide and a teacher. Because I've had people that have approached, you know, me or Bobby Fabukumi that wanted to be students or wanted to be, you know, whatever. And but we see certain things that they're doing, and we don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So now you messed up your guide or your teacher because you're doing stuff that you really, you know, is outside of good character that you really shouldn't be doing. You know, so that's another way that you know, that's another jewel to finding a good guide and a good teacher is stay in your lane, be humble, be patient, you know, be genuine. You know, your intentions have to be pure, because when they're not, you attract that same type of energy, you know, to you, which is not, it's not gonna take you nowhere. So number 3, to some of the most common spiritual challenges we have, number 3 is spiritual confusion.
Confusion.
So what do we mean by that? Some people come to us and they have no idea what this system is actually about, like just the basic fundamental principles, whether it's something that somebody mistaught them or something that they misinterpreted, that they might have read online, or the whole, you know, the propaganda, how we grew up with the black magic voodoo thing, anything African is evil and all of that. Spiritual confusion, you know, there's a lot of things that come underneath that, and it's a real hindrance to, and it's a real challenge, you know, to people growing spiritually, because when you're confused, right? Confusion is it's like the baseline, it's like the foundation for everything else. Once you get confused, everything else is just gonna be off.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's so much information out here that sometimes people take it upon themselves. They search on the internet, you know, and they get kind of confused because of mixed information. Another thing is where you get caught up into the whole Isheshe versus Lukumi versus Santeria versus Candomblé, and who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
And as we said many times, you know, it's not that any of those paths is wrong,
Right.
but it depends on what path your Ori chose. And another thing is, you know, I get a lot of people sometimes, a lot of females, mainly, you know, that are devotees. They come in and they just say, I'm Oshun, right? And then it's like, well, was that divine for you? Well, no, I think, you know, because I'm
I
sexy,
just connect with,
and I'm beautiful, I just connect with Oshun. Well, you're confusing yourself. You're not allowing the divination or Ifa or the Orishas. They know who you are. And when you get a divination, you know, I remember I had a couple of times where I had certain females. They were beautiful women, and because they know they were beautiful, they thought they were Oshun. But
everybody want to be
they
Oshun.
got, right,
Or
they got Obatala. One got Obatala, and she just said, no, I'm not Obatala. I said, well, this is what Ifa says. You know, you're a child of Obatala, and they couldn't, that didn't resonate with them, and so they just calling themselves Oshun and ignored. And so then when you start having issues and problems, and you're doing for Oshun because you think you're Oshun, but you're not appeasing who your real head is, Obatala, then when you don't see things working out for you, then, a lot of times they'll go to another diviner. They'll go to another diviner until they get to the diviner that says,
to tell them what they want
you
to hear.
Oshun.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I'm Oshun. And then they just run with that, right? But you done been to like 10 diviners so now this is where the confusion come in.
Right.
And then, a lot of times when a problem comes, it's like, well, you're not a good priest because I'm still having problems. Well, you didn't follow the prescription in the first place.
Right.
You're supposed to be appeasing Obatala.
Right.
You can appease Oshun if it comes up in the divination
You
or
can't
whatever,
neglect.
but you can't neglect. This is your Orisha guide.
Yeah.
Right? And so that has to do with a lot of the spiritual confusion as well, where you coming into this and you already saying who you are.
Who you think you're Orisha is.
That's ego.
Yeah.
You can't claim an Orisha. These Orisha accompanied you when you were born.
Right. They claim you.
They claim you.
Yeah.
And I know in Ile Ategbe y'all have a thing where y'all do the Orisha birth. Right, you can explain that a little bit, because I think that gives out a lot of understanding as well.
Yeah, it
for
clears
the
up
OTs.
a lot of spiritual confusion.
Mhm.
Alabawaye is the Risha birth divination done in Ile Ategbe, Babi Fabukumi, and the Ile Ategbe lineage, and it's based on the day you were born. So, for instance, I was born on Jakuta Monday. There's a way that we can calculate that. For younger children, you can actually go back and look at the calendar.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you got a child that's really young,
Mhm.
you go see their birthday. You look up and you see what day they were born on. So then we divide to see who your Orisha birth is, which is the Orisha that escorts you into, your final step into this, your full step into this world from your mother's womb, that accompanied you from heaven. That, that is one of your main Orisha. It may not be the main Orisha that rules your head. It may or it may not. It depends. The full divination will tell that, but the Orisha birth is very important. Like for me, mine is Bayani, but my main Orisha is Orumila. My mother is Oshun, so that's my whole spiritual makeup. Right? You have a spiritual father, a spiritual mother. One of them is going to rule your head. You have your Orisha of birth. Like I said, some people, like my wife, her Orisha of birth is Orumila. And Orumila is her father, but her main Orisha is Oshun. So it's just, that helps a lot, because if you're not appeasing or aware of your Orisha Alabawaye, your Orisha of birth, there's a gap there. You're not really at your full spiritual potential, because you could potentially be leaving out a very important energy to you or and your family. But it's so many different things we could talk about under spiritual confusion, but it's just a lack of understanding of a lot of different things. Like you said, people can go out, look at videos and on the internet and read different things, and people are just all over the place, and they just lack a basic foundational understanding of these spiritual principles, universal law, natural law, just the basics. So when you don't have the fundamentals, and it's easy to get confused. One person telling you one thing, you might read a story and one story says this and the other story is similar, but it says that. You might be confused about that. Right. But it's really the same story. It's just sometimes it's the story is told a little different. The characters might be different, or the place might be different, but the wisdom being conveyed in the story, it might be an essay five or a story in the Odu.
Right.
The wisdom is the same. So it's just all type of confusion that people have, and they ask us questions. So we deal with this almost on a daily basis. So we deal with the spiritual confusion,
And I think following some type of spiritual lineage and staying on that path,
Just please.
that helps to overcome the
It helps you
spiritual
cut down on it because
confusion.
you don't have 5 different people telling you.
Right, something different.
Yeah.
And then you get into the thing, a few times, in my lineage, the Oshabi lineage, which derives from Matanzas, Cuba. When Abba Osageman got initiated in 1959 in Matanzas, Cuba. So that lineage, as a lot of people came through that lineage, a lot of people stayed with the lineage, but then we had a lot of people that left because they said, well, it's not the true Isheshe, or it's not the truth, and then they go off somewhere else and get reinitiated. And I've seen this growing up, and I see it today. And then you see they state of their mind. It's like some people go crazy when they just get reinitiated over and over, and it's like you just shopping, and you don't know what you're shopping for. So you're going from one lineage to the next lineage to the next lineage to the next lineage, and it's like at the end of the day, you're not gonna learn nothing, because the only thing you're gonna get from that is confusion and a warped mind, because now you done gathered all of this information and it's clashing within your Ori, and you can't figure out how to get out of that.
Yeah.
So you gotta stick with your lineage, whatever lineage you go through, because that's the lineage your Ori
Cuts
chose.
down on the confusion.
Cuts down on it, and but we living in a time where there's so much information coming from Yoruba, traditional Yoruba, Lukumi, Candomblé. I mean, you can name it.
Yeah.
All these divisions, and they out there promoting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're out there promoting their lineage. And so you have people that's coming in and they confused because they're being bombarded by so much different information.
And the beautiful thing about the whole thing is, if you get a good understanding of the fundamentals and the basics, then you can navigate. You can learn a little about this and about that, and you won't get confused because you'll understand. You have a basic, you're grounded, so that you might learn something from somebody in Africa or somebody in Cuba or somebody in Brazil, and you can make it make sense. But if you just really never grasp anything, and then you keep going here, there, whatever, it's all gonna be confusing to you, because you can be like, you don't know how to assimilate the information without being confused, because you don't have an understanding of the basics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and some people just have a lust for what they think is power, and they want this power so that they can have authority over people and have these students. And it's like, because of your lust for it, you can run into some trouble.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing that our culture and our spirituality is a lot of our people are embracing it. At the same time, the importance of order, following rules and laws, because spirituality has rules and laws. It has principles. I used to have a show out called Ifas Code of Conduct that kind of broke those things down. But we have rules and laws in this, and you just can't be a person that just flies from one lineage to the next,
Mhm.
to the next, and then to the next, and to the next, and then you find yourself
Nowhere.
nowhere, basically.
Yeah,
You
spiritual
just find
confusion.
yourself going in circles and circles.
We could talk
So,
for long. We could keep going. There's so
Yeah,
many different
so
things
much.
under that. But we're gonna go to our next one, which is spiritual attacks.
wow.
I think this is a good one that people want to hear and talk about as one of the most common spiritual challenges, spiritual attacks, or you think somebody's spiritual attacking you. So we did touch on this in one of our previous episodes, but a practical solution to spiritual attacks. Number one, a good way to avoid that or overcome it is to make sure that you keep your character and your integrity intact.
Mm,
That's one
mm.
thing that you can do to combat that. But if there's really, like, if you're really under spiritual attack, the best remedy for that is to find a competent priest or priestess, have your divination done, do your sacrifices, follow their advice, adhere to your taboos.
Mhm.
That's all you need to do, and let them take care of the rest.
Mhm.
You can't do that and then you still want to go and do some extra stuff and you want to, you have to get out the way and let them handle it. You can't go and be vindictive or revengeful and try to pick up some spells out of a book or some ritual or something to try to, you got to do what I just laid out and then you got to leave it alone.
Because you're getting in the way of the forces that you didn't appease to help you. Now you want to go and whip up or conjure up something to try and throw back at
Yeah.
whoever's
Yeah.
throwing whatever they're throwing at you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not allowing the forces to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just going to sit back and say, you're not allowing their shoe to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
So his shoe going to be like, well, okay, you do it. Thanks for the meal.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because I was on the way to delivering your sacrifices, but now you're getting in the way.
You're in the way. You got it.
You got it. Why'd you come to me in the first? Thank you for the offering.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. Spiritual attacks are real.
Yeah, it's real.
They are real. And there's many stories of people who have been under certain types of spiritual attacks. One of them is gossip. Gossip is a form of an attack.
That's it.
Lies
Mm-hmm.
is a form of an attack.
False accusations.
False accusations is a form of an attack. There's so many things, where people can actually, there are people, and I don't know how they have the time to do it, but, they will, work you, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
These things do exist.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you are doing the things that you are supposed to do,
That's it.
and you allow, as we said, you do your eyeballs,
Right.
and you just let Eshu do his job.
You can't work them back. It don't work like that.
It's gonna be handled.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your taboos. You follow the information in the
Just
divination,
do what I say to do.
right? You're gonna be okay. But if you don't have no faith and you just coming to get a reading and everything is laid out for you, and you do the ball, but you don't follow the rest of the prescription, you don't follow the wisdom, you don't follow the taboos,
The advice and all of that.
you're leaving an opening for more attacks.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta follow those things. It's not just doing, you do the Abba, but part of the Abba is listening to the wisdom.
Listen, it's just as important as the rituals and the sacrifices. It's just as important.
Yeah, and just once you get those things done, continue to do what you're supposed to do and let the spirits handle the job.
Mm-hmm. You gotta have faith.
You'll be okay with the spiritual attacks. I think another one is a lot of times people say what they call sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
But we know it as in the South they say a hag is
Like a
riding.
hag or a Hank riding or
Right. Now I've had that
sleep
experience.
paralysis.
I've had that at
once or
13.
twice.
And it was interesting because it was happening often, you know. And I thought at the time where I was staying there, I thought, okay, and it could have been the environment of where I was at, where I was getting this attack. But the last time it happened, I woke up and it felt like when I woke up, I had my hand, like I have, you know how you have your hand around somebody's neck? I woke up like that. And it never happened again. And I had just got initiated that year. And that happened. So it showed, for me, years later, I said, wow, that was me defeating it. It was almost like I strangled it. It never happened again. To this day, I never had that problem. But I get a lot of people that have those experiences. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
You know?
And most of the time, the solution to that is going to be, because that's EIME. That's the EIME energy that is causing that. So it's either EIME appeasement or Egbe or both. That's been my experience. Even, you know, I guess I won't speak too much, but personal experience with me and some people that's really close to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's been my experience to remedy that. A common solution is, of course, you need to do your DAFA to lay out what's going on, and of course, the remedy to fixing it and the advice, the taboos, whatever sacrifices need to be done to appease that energy. Because it's a lot of times, it's not necessarily always, as humans, we look at things
I'm glad
from
you
a
said
human
that.
perspective.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
And
it
I know
doesn't
what you're about
always
to say.
mean it's
I know
bad.
where you get ready to go, right?
Yeah, it's
it
not-
doesn't mean it's an attack all the
It's-
time.
Yeah, it could
like,
be a warning, and
right.
it can also be a sign or a signal
Of
to
attention.
you that you need, hey,
The
I need to get your
or
attention.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need to do
Right.
something to help your life. So it's not always, you know, you don't just look at it all as all
A
negative.
spiritual attack all
Yeah.
the time. You know, it could be a message or a sign saying, appease me. I'm here to support you, but you need to do
It's
this.
a form of communication.
You know, exactly. And so maybe that what you think is a spiritual attack is something to get your attention.
It's just to get to attention. Now, I've had also situation where it did come in a spiritual attack that was combined with this person. I'm not going to name names, but the sleep paralysis was also combined with them fighting spirits at night, waking up with physical bruises on their bodies, with shadows, and I know a lot of people can identify with this. Fighting those type of spirits and hearing, to the point where this person was hearing things in the house, and you know, voices and fighting spirits along with these. So this was a more severe case. You know what I mean? So there's levels of intensity to it. So
yeah, I have some stories. I'm not even going to say none of these stories.
yeah.
It's some stuff out there. Like,
It's real.
I went to, I had to go up to White Plains, New York, to clean this elder lady's house, and she had some things going on up in there. And when I went up in there, at that time, you know, I was still kind of a young priest, so
Mhm.
I stayed at I stayed at the house. Yeah. And I had some experiences in there and I saw some things and I heard some things and I said, okay, this is real.
Yeah, it's real.
And so I did the house cleaning and everything. And it calmed down. Um, you know, when I left, came back, you know, the lady called and said it calmed down and everything. But I think about a couple of years later, it started back up. However, what that experience for me said, okay, it taught me to, when I have situations like that, you don't stay at the client house. Get a hotel or somewhere else to stay. So that was my lesson.
Yeah.
In, you know, but it is, I've seen a lot of things.
Yeah, it's real. But that's the remedy. We went over the solution to that. You're not gonna just do it yourself and read something in a book or go and like do some, you know, sacrifice is stronger than charms.
I share.
And charms and amulets and, you know, those type of things. You know, you can do stuff like that after you do the elbow to aid you,
to boost, to give a support.
but yeah, to boost and give a support. But just to do that without doing a die-fire sacrifice, that's not going. It's not gonna cut it, especially for those type of things. Like those things are serious things, you know.
Yeah, so we're not the only. You know, there's more spirits on this planet than it is human.
Yeah.
Human beings. So
you know, another type of spiritual attack. We talked about gossip with epic curses. You know, people can curse you, and they don't have to know anything about E5 or anything. They can just use their mouth, you know, their intentions and their thoughts and their energy in their mouth, you know, negatively towards you, you know. And of course, there are more intense, more intricate forms of curses, but I'm just saying at a rudimentary level, you know, that's the basic foundation, you know, of it. It could just be somebody that just don't like you and they just think about you negatively and they just wish you, you know, like they just thinking crazy about you in their mind.
Mocking. What about somebody mocking you?
Yeah. And they actually curse themselves.
Yeah.
You keep your character pure and let them curse themselves. You know, I had a situation recently where, y'all reminded me, she told me you gotta keep I got it, you know, take care of it, but you have to keep your character at the forefront. You know what I mean? So that's a real thing. You know, curses, epic. Same solution to the problem as we mentioned earlier. You know, don't try to curse them back because now you're in the
jeopardizing your character.
Yeah, now that's not the right way to go about it. Because you know when you throw something, you get the blowback. You get some blowback from it. I don't care how you know.
Just make the air ball.
Just do the air ball
and keep it moving and don't give it no attention.
Give it no stop. That's the other one is don't stop giving stuff so much of your attention. And thinking about it all the time because you create it
and you're feeding it and you're making it a little worse than it is.
You're feeding it,
yeah. And that's hard for people.
Oh man,
because people have been taught to retaliate all the time. You don't have to retaliate all the time. You know, do what you're supposed to do and ignore it and keep progressing forward.
Right.
And you're going to be all right.
Some people are obsessed with enemies and somebody got a curse on me and somebody trying to kill me. And
that's an excuse sometimes.
Yeah.
It's deal with their own personal problems.
Yeah, sometimes it is. It's real. It does happen, yes. But a lot of times, like the Baba just said, you know, it's that lack of accountability. You don't want to look in the mirror and see what you're doing to cause, you know, these things. So again, it's the same solution for all these spiritual attacks that we're talking about. The solution is, is the same. And the last one we wanted to mention is family.
Family.
I think this will resonate with a lot of people because sometimes your own family, there's plenty of verses in Ifa that talk about this, where, your own family can be your enemies, people that are close to you and that know you and still are your enemy and smile in your face, but behind your back pray for your downfall and will plot against you. Or it could be a situation where your family, there's some ancestral dysfunction that's been passed down through the bloodline. Or it could be a situation where your family just don't understand, they think you're weird and you're a devil worshiper or whatever, and that can, if you let it, it can be an impediment to your spiritual growth and development.
Yeah, dysfunctional ancestral patterns, things that keep happening over and over within amongst the family. As we stated, family not saying positive things about each other, positive words, positive messages, but it's always something negative. Intrigues, internal conflicts within the family through arguments, fights, things of that sort. A lot of the remedy to that is, when I get people that come to me with those problems, I always say, okay, you need a roots reading because we need to get to the bottom of where this comes from. We need to do some deeper investigation on your ancestors.
So for those who don't know, can you elaborate a little more on what is a roots reading and why is it important?
So a roots reading is basically a spiritual investigation of your bloodline on your father's side, the mother's side, and the roots reading gives you the information needed, one, to venerate your ancestors, two, to give you the identity of who your people are. Three, it lets you know your family taboo.
That's it.
Four, it gives you the name of your family, because as you know, African names has meaning and power and character behind those names. So the name that's given from the oracle, it basically tells the character of your family.
That's it.
The totem of your family. The where your family come from. And when we say where your family come from, we're not saying what part of the United States that they come from. No, we're going deeper and saying what part of Africa did my ancestors derive from, right? So your ancestors may have come from West Africa, South Africa, North Africa, Central, the roots reading. And then the roots reading gives you the story of your whole clan, who they were, what did they do, were they politicians, musicians,
Blacksmiths,
wood
carvers,
so forth and
warriors,
so on, warriors,
royalty,
politicians, who were these people?
Market people,
What
business
was
people.
Right? What was their contribution to their community?
Right.
Further down, the deeper you go, you're gonna find in the roots reading where things kind of got off track because of the colonialism, the transatlantic slave trade. The roots reading gives you all of these things. A lot of the times, when you hear family curses, A lot of times, people think somebody is doing something to them within the family, but a lot of those curses come sometimes from the types of food that we started eating. We changed our diet because, of course, we had to survive,
Right.
and things like that. But some of those curses can be we broke our taboos and didn't even know it because we ended up in a land where we didn't eat this type of food. We didn't drink this type of drink, and so because we had to survive, we had to eat.
To adapt.
We had to adapt. So the roots reading kind of get into that. So once you know this information, you're able to start to change things, and then you're going to see the family, the changes within the family. You may not see it in your generation, but the new babies you start to have, those are the old ancestors coming back. So the roots reading is a form of ancestor veneration because once you start venerating those ancestors and you bring out a goombo and do things like that, when them new babies come in, those are going to be those wise, intelligent, genius ancestors that are going to be returning to restore the family, the true family customs and traditions. And so that's the roots reading gives you those things.
Right.
And so you're able to break what we call a family curse. You know what I mean? Do the veneration of your ancestors. But that roots reading is so important. I think that I love doing roots readings more than just general readings. A lot of people say, "Would you like to do better, general reading or roots reading?" I like to do roots readings because I like to go deep, and then I love to help families to really see this is who your ancestors were. Because a lot of times we say, "I'm king." A lot of men say they kings. I'm a king. And the women say, "Well, I'm a queen." But your lineage may not be king or queen. Your lineage can be chief too, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Your lineage, you may, as you said, they may have been blacksmith. And so once you get those things, because I started adding on with the roots readings, it's like profession. What was the profession of these people? Because a lot of times we don't know what we want to do in this world. We're trying to figure out what we want to be. But when the roots readings say your ancestors were blacksmith, they worked with iron. So now you may have somebody, a young person in your bloodline, they might want to go to school to be a welder. And they may do well at it because they come from that lineage.
And you had that understanding. It's deep, you know what I'm saying? Like let's talk about it. Like, okay, like the brother said, you were talking about the food earlier. A lot of problems in the family now are also coming from the fact that, Christianity was forced on us, or Islam or whatever. And there are annual rites, ritual that you're supposed to do for your ancestors, for your ancestral lineage on an annual basis.
Yes.
So now the ancestors are not being appeased anymore. Let's say, for instance, because for your family, the other thing the roots reading does is it'll tell you, like for instance, with my family, on my father's side, the main orisha for the family was Obatala. So now you don't know anything about Obatala anymore. You're not doing Obatala worship or appeasements. So that it's certain family totem. When you mentioned the totem earlier, that's what the Bible's talking about. Your family lineage is ruled by a particular orisha. So when you fail to pay homage and make those annual rites and rituals for your ancestors or for the orisha that are associated with your family, that can cause all type of problems in the family, along with any trauma that might have happened during slavery. And then if I might tell you, your people were never, y'all were free. Y'all was with the Moors.
Exactly.
With the Maroons. Living, free.
Right.
this, that, and the third. So it just depends. Everybody's story isn't the same, but it gives you that insight, right? So one of the practical solutions to that challenge of the different challenges that can come under family is having the roots reading.
Sure.
Another one is doing the family research, doing the research on your family. Who were your people? Like, you do that plus the roots reading, and then some people don't want to do the genealogy or whatever because they talk about the DNA. They got your DNA already anyway. But you know, you can put those things together to get to try to formulate a picture of who you are and who your family is and your ancestors, like the Bible said, a general idea of where they came from, who they were, what kind of people they were, maybe the main profession of the family. You know, like we mentioned, it could be hunters, it could be warriors, it could be blacksmiths, it could be wood carvers, it could be kings or queens or royal lineage, it could be chiefs, it could be politicians, it could be market people, maybe they were business people and traders, you know what I'm saying? It's just like the list goes on, but and a lot of times you will get a confirmation of something because you'll find something out in the roots reading or in your family research that would explain why you have a certain propensity or a certain inclination towards certain things, you or your children or maybe your mom and daddy. Like, you know, some people come from a long line of preachers where y'all was probably priests before you came in back in the day.
Times, in the ancient times.
Before Christianity was bombarded with that, your family was your lineage was probably, you know, priests, Orisha priests or you know, Yanifa or you know, Babalaos or whatever. Healers, people that have the natural propensity right now to be healers with herbs and stuff like that. Your ancestors, you didn't just wake up with that. You probably got that through your bloodline, through your lineage. So you all would be venerate Osai and or maybe Obaluaye, you know, healers, right? So a lot of it also is confirmation of things that you already know or that's in you. It's not always like brand new information.
Yeah, and it's been locked away.
Right.
And that door within you
finds the key to unlock it.
And he finds the key to unlock it.
It's
and
the
once
confirmation.
It's unlocked, you're gonna, and you know one thing, I know I've been doing roots readings for a good minute, and one of the things that help the family with, it helps to restore the pride.
The honor.
The honor, the respect. Those are the things that's gonna break that family dysfunction or the habits. You know, and you know, you start to see the family just elevate and soar, and when they wear the traditional cloth of and the regalia, they start putting on African clothes. You know what I mean? And see, and in that case, see, that's the proper way into coming into Eleke. Before you get into Eleke, venerate your ancestors first. And once you know the Orisha of your lineage, receive that Eleke. You know, those are the things that's gonna just unlock what's been locked. You know, and you start to and that pride, you can see that pride in the people who have gotten roots readings and they 100% following it. And then you see that pride and that smile and that, you know, it's like they walk different, they look different, their life is different. You know, this African spirituality, it works.
Yes, it does.
It works. And it helps to overcome the family dysfunction. But again, you gotta be patient through the process.
Gotta be patient. And everybody, the whole family may not be on board. Okay? So don't expect, let me tell you now, don't romanticize this. We're not trying to romanticize it. It might, a lot of times, it's just you. You were picked, you were selected by the ancestors to bring the lineage back. It may not be your living relatives. It might be you and your children and the ones that gravitate and come around. You may be the one chosen to reestablish this. So a a lot of times when it comes to the family, it could be a lonely journey, but
Mhm.
they will give you the power and the perseverance and the patience and the ashe to do it because you were the chosen one.
You the
that
spiritual
you came
leader.
through. You the only one that in your family that even gravitates, so you know you the one. You know,
Spiritual leader of the family.
most of the time that's what we see now
Mhm.
these days, anyway.
It's a lot of the young ones in the family.
Yeah.
That end
Oh,
up
yeah.
being the one that starts, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
It makes a lot of sense. The elders, the ones that, they've gone to church all their life, they may not be open to it. And that's okay.
and a lot of them know something, but they just don't want to say
They
it.
don't want to say it.
Yeah, you get that a lot too. You know, so
Yeah, and it's just the times that they've been through.
right,
And so you don't blame them.
Right. I
They,
see.
one thing I noticed about the church, when you start talking about ancestors to church people, they get that.
oh yeah, they get that.
They understand
Yeah,
that whole family thing and ancestors. Now, when you
most
start,
of them get that.
yeah, but when you start talking about different, African saints and guys, they ain't gonna attach to that. But
That's
when it's ancestors,
Yeah,
those church people, they'll gravitate.
yeah,
When you start singing "This Little Light of Mine" and all of
Mhm.
those type of things, and you drumming,
yeah,
they will join.
yeah. You just got to do it in a way where they don't get spookified.
Right.
Some of them can get, well, the Bible says that the dead are the dead, and you just leave them alone. And, But anyway, that was our topic for today. Practical solutions to the most common spiritual challenges. We hope and pray that you enjoyed this episode. We hope that it brought some enlightenment and that it touched somebody, and we
Cleared
hope
up some
we
things.
learned something today. So we enjoyed ourselves as we
I
always
enjoyed
do.
Josh.
We
Yeah.
love y'all,
I
a
love
wonderful audience.
this.
I am Awoi Fajimini Ray,
I am Awoi Fache
and you are tuned in to the greatest
podcast on the planet. Let's talk E5. Odabo.
I say Odabo. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you soon. Peace and blessings.
Peace.
I say.